Hello, I'm Kimberly Acosta. Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on Friday, January 15th. Many of the stories you hear here today can be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com, or you can check out IndianCountryTV.com. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A small group of Native American activists marched into White Clay, Nebraska to present a lawsuit they plan to file accusing 4 White Clay beer sellers and a Christian ministry of violating the Bad Man Clause of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. Dwayne Martin Sr. of the Strong Heart Civil Rights Movement and the Black Hills Sioux Treaty Council say they will file a complaint in the U.S. District Court in Lincoln, Nebraska, naming 4 White Clay beer sellers: Mike's Pioneer Liquor, State Line Inn, Arrowhead Inn, and Jumping Eagle Inn, and the Christian nonprofit 555 White Clay, which operates a soup kitchen and other ministries in White Clay. White Clay is just outside of the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, where the sale of alcohol is prohibited, and 2 miles south of the town of Pine Ridge. Beer sales in White Clay contribute to alcoholism and related problems that are rampant on the reservation, said Martin. The proposed lawsuit asked the federal government to stop those establishments from doing business under Article 1 of the 1868 treaty between the Sioux Nation and the U.S. government. The Idaho Supreme Court has rejected an appeal by an online cigarette marketer who claimed his company was immune from state law regulating tobacco sales. The unanimous decision issued January 15th affirms a lower court ruling in a lawsuit filed by the Idaho Attorney General in 2006 against Scott Mabee, who sold millions of cigarettes to Idaho smokers through smartsmokers.com and ordersmokesdirect.com. In the original lawsuit, the state claimed Mabee, a Native American from New York, was violating state laws requiring cigarette peddlers to register with the state and pay a fee to the state. The laws were passed in the wake of the National Tobacco Settlement in 1998. Mabee claimed Idaho laws don't apply because he's protected by federal interstate and Indian commerce laws. The justices disagreed and awarded attorney fees and courts costs to the state. Colorado lawmakers are considering a bill that would cut $1.8 million in funding each year for Native American students attending Fort Lewis College in Durango and could violate a 99-year-old Indian treaty. In 1911, as a condition of accepting thousands of acres of land in Hesperus in southwest Colorado, state lawmakers agreed to establish an Institute of Learning, and all Native American students could be admitted tuition-free. Now facing a budget crunch, Colorado lawmakers want to take some of that money away. Representative Karen Middleton said the cost of educating Native American students at Fort Lewis College has soared from $6.5 million to $10.7 million over the past 5 years because the state pays tuition for all Native Americans, regardless of their tribe or where they live. Steve Schwartz, Vice President of Finance and Administration at the college, said this is one of the few treaties the United States has kept with Native Americans. He said the federal government still requires the school to educate all Native Americans and comply with the treaty. When a group of kindergartners were asked to draw pictures of Native Americans for a recent study, 3 stereotypes quickly emerged: hatchets, feathers, and the color red. When many Native Americans blame America's public education system for such stereotypes. Most children's education about Native Americans start at Columbus Day and end at Thanksgiving, and few states design curriculum to prevent that. It amazes me that we don't have state standards that mandate teaching American Indian history as part of American history, said Scott Stevens, a Mohawk and director of the Darcy McNichol Center for American Indian History at the Newberry Library. Stevens spoke January 14th at a panel entitled Americans Forgotten People at Northwestern University School of Law. He said that in the absence of the comprehensive education, most Americans lump the 562 federally recognized Native American tribes into one large group. Stevens advocated expanding education about Native Americans in public schools, both to teach children about rich cultures and to help them better understand the complex fabric of American history. Indigenous people are the world's poorest and suffer alarming conditions in all countries, according to the United Nations report released on January 14th. Indigenous people make up 5% of the world's population, but constitute 15% of the world's poor and are about 1/3 of the world's 900 million extremely poor rural people. There has been improvement in the social economic conditions of Native Americans in the United States over the last couple decades, but the gap between Native Americans and the rest of the population when it comes to the UN's Human Development Index scores is still troubling. Conditions have improved in the U.S. in large part due to an increase in self-determination, which has allowed tribes to have greater decision-making power in their own lands. Still, Native Americans face significant challenges to achieving equity with non-Native communities. The report documents the threat to culture with striking data on language. About 97% of the world population speaks 4% of existing languages, which means 3%, mostly indigenous people, speak 96 of the world's languages, most of which are in danger of becoming extinct. The Native American Music Association is helping to raise funds for the Haiti earthquake victims through Save the Children. The funds raised will support the emergency relief and recovery efforts after the devastating earthquake that struck Haiti on January 12th. To make a donation, you can go to firstgiving.com/NAMIs. In other news, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have pledged their support to victims of the massive earthquake by donating $1 million through their Pitt-Jolie Foundation for relief and recovery efforts as well. And that's the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me and have a grand day.